Stop right there, put down those seed packets, and step away from the soil. Are you getting the itch to start your tomato seeds right now because you want a massive, early harvest? Well, I have a shocking truth for you. Starting your tomatoes too early is actually the absolute worst thing you can do for your garden. In this video, we are going completely against the grain to reveal why early sowing is a huge mistake that will secretly destroy your tomato yield. I'm going to show you the hidden dangers of rushing the season, and I promise you will learn the exact foolproof formula for timing your seeds to get a mountain of juicy tomatoes this summer. Let us shatter the biggest gardening myth out there. Bigger is absolutely not always better. Tell me right now in the comments, what month do you usually start your tomato seeds? Let us see who is guilty of rushing. To really understand this problem, we have to look at why we feel this overwhelming urge to plant early. Every single winter, by the time February rolls around, gardeners get severe cabin fever. We deeply miss the warm sun, we miss the green leaves, and we are desperate to get our hands dirty again. For generations, large garden centers have fed into this desire by selling giant, overgrown tomato plants in early spring, making us believe that an older, taller plant will magically give us tomatoes sooner. We have been conditioned to think that getting a massive head start indoors is the ultimate secret to gardening success. But tomatoes are native to warm tropical climates, and their biology demands very specific warm conditions. Historically, successful farmers relied strictly on the natural weather and the deep warmth of the outdoor soil, not tiny plastic cups sitting on a cold windowsill. Today, we need to unlearn the modern habit of rushing nature and get back to the true science of plant growth. Let us talk about the very first hurdle your early tomato seeds will face. It is the severe lack of natural sunlight. When you plant seeds in the middle of winter, the days are just too short. The sun sits low in the sky and its rays are incredibly weak. Your tiny tomato sprouts are desperately looking for energy to grow. Because they cannot find enough light, they start to stretch. They reach higher and higher toward the window, trying to find the sun. This creates a condition gardeners call leggy seedlings. Imagine a pale, skinny thread trying to hold up a heavy green roof. That is exactly what your early tomato plant looks like. It is weak, fragile, and easily broken by a gentle breeze. Many people believe the common myth that a bright south-facing window is plenty of light for early seeds. But the truth is, window glass filters out a massive amount of the usable light spectrum. Unless you are using highly expensive, professional grow lights running for 16 hours a day, those early plants will suffer terribly. A tomato planted a month later, when the spring sun is high and strong, will naturally grow a thick, sturdy trunk. It will look like a miniature oak tree compared to the fragile, stretched-out early sprout. That strong stem is the absolute foundation for a massive harvest later in the season. Now let us move on to a hidden disaster happening right under the soil. This is the root-bound dilemma. When you start your tomatoes way too early, they have to live in their small starter pots for a very long time. Tomato plants are highly aggressive growers. They want to send their roots deep and wide to search for water and vital nutrients. But in a small plastic cup, those roots hit a solid wall very quickly. They have nowhere to go, so they start circling the bottom of the pot, tangling into a tight white knot. If you have ever pulled a plant out of its pot and seen a solid mass of roots spinning around like a bird nest, you know exactly what I mean. This is terrible for the future of the plant. Once the roots learn to grow in a circle, they often continue to do so even after you plant them in the huge garden. They literally choke themselves. They become completely unable to spread out and gather the massive amounts of food needed to produce heavy, juicy tomatoes. An older, root-bound seedling will just sit in the garden dirt, doing absolutely nothing for weeks while it tries to fix its damaged root system. A younger seedling, planted at the right time, has fresh, exploring roots that immediately dive deep into your garden soil, setting the stage for explosive growth. Another massive issue with early sowing is the dreaded transplant shock. Think about this logically. An older, larger tomato plant has grown accustomed to the comfortable, stable environment of your warm living room. It has a fully developed system, and it is set in its ways. When you finally move this large, older plant outside into the harsh reality of cold wind, heavy rain, and fluctuating temperatures, it panics. The bigger the plant, the harder it falls. This sudden change shocks the system, causing the plant to stop growing completely. It might even drop its lower leaves or turn purple from intense stress. Imagine taking a person who has been sitting on a soft couch for 3 months and suddenly forcing them to run a marathon in a rainstorm. They are going to collapse. This is exactly what happens to your early sown tomatoes. Now, let us completely shatter a popular myth. People naturally think a bigger plant is stronger and handles moving better. The exact opposite is true. A younger, smaller tomato plant is highly adaptable. It is in its active, flexible growth phase. When you move a younger seedling into the garden, it barely even notices the change. It just grabs onto the new soil and keeps growing without missing a single beat. The younger plant will establish itself twice as fast as the stressed-out older one. Let us explore the dangerous temperature trap that ruins so many early gardens. The main reason we start seeds indoors is to protect them from the freezing cold. But if you start too early, you create a terrible timing mismatch. Your giant, overgrown seedlings are screaming to be planted outside because they have completely outgrown their pots. But the calendar says it is still too early, and the garden soil is freezing cold. Tomatoes are tropical plants at heart. They absolutely hate cold dirt. If you plant a tomato in soil that is below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, its roots shut down entirely. It cannot absorb essential phosphorus, which is why the leaves turn that sickly purple color. So you are forced to keep these giant plants inside for 3 more weeks, moving them from table to table, trying to keep them alive. It is a total nightmare of logistics. You are essentially torturing the plant, keeping it in a stressful state of suspended animation. It desperately wants to grow, but it cannot. By the time the soil finally warms up enough to be safe, your early plant is exhausted, starved, and deeply stressed. Meanwhile, the smart gardener who waited patiently and started their seeds later has perfectly sized plants ready exactly when the warm soil is ready to receive them. Timing is absolutely everything. Here is a heartbreaking scenario that early sowers face every single year: the major problem of premature flowering. When a tomato plant sits in a small pot for way too long, it gets incredibly stressed. It feels that its roots are trapped and vital nutrients are running low. The plant panics and actually thinks its life is coming to an end. In a desperate attempt to reproduce before it dies, it starts pushing out yellow flowers while it is still sitting on your living room windowsill. You might think, wow, flowers already. I am going to have early tomatoes. This is a highly dangerous illusion. A plant this small simply does not have the physical structure to support heavy, watery fruit. If it tries to grow a tomato right now, all of its energy goes into that one single fruit. The main trunk stops growing, the branches stop forming, and the root system completely stalls. It is like a child trying to do the heavy lifting of a fully grown adult. Usually, the stressed plant will just drop these early blossoms anyway, wasting precious energy. To get a massive harvest of 50 or 100 tomatoes from a single plant, you need a massive, strong, leafy structure first. You want your tomatoes to focus completely on growing green leaves and thick stems while in their pots, saving all that beautiful flowering energy for the warm summer garden. We absolutely must talk about the dangerous magnet for pests and diseases that early sowing creates. A healthy, fast-growing plant has strong natural defenses, but an overgrown, stressed, leggy tomato plant stuck indoors for 10 weeks is essentially a flashing neon sign for bugs and destructive fungus. Because the plant is weak from a lack of light and cramped roots, its immune system is deeply compromised. This makes it the perfect victim for fungus gnats. These tiny, annoying black flies absolutely love the damp soil of indoor pots, and their hungry larvae will chew directly on the already struggling roots of your tomatoes. Furthermore, the longer a plant sits indoors in stagnant air, the higher the chance of a fatal fungal disease called damping off. This terrible fungus attacks the weak stem right at the soil line, and suddenly, your tall, proud seedling just falls over dead overnight. It is a devastating loss for any gardener. By starting your seeds later, you drastically reduce the amount of time the plant spends in the risky, unnatural environment of your house. A seedling grown quickly over 6 weeks is robust, packed with intense energy, and can naturally fight off minor pest attacks. It acts like a fully rested, healthy athlete ready to take on the world instead of a tired, sickly patient lying in a hospital bed. Now prepare to have your mind blown by the amazing catch-up phenomenon. This is the absolute ultimate proof that early sowing is a complete waste of your time and effort. Let us imagine a race between 2 tomato plants. Plant A was started way too early, in late February. It is tall, pale, root-bound, and highly stressed out. Plant B was started 4 weeks later in late March. It is short, dark green, has a thick stem, and fresh, happy roots. You plant both of them in the outdoor garden on the exact same day in May. For the first week, Plant A looks bigger and more impressive. But then, the real magic happens. Plant A just sits there, doing absolutely nothing, trying to recover from severe transplant shock and fix its tangled roots. Plant B, however, experiences zero shock. Its healthy roots explode immediately into the warm soil. In just 14 days, Plant B will completely catch up to Plant A in overall size. By the middle of June, Plant B will be twice as large, incredibly bushy, and completely covered in healthy yellow blossoms. By July, Plant B is yielding a massive, continuous harvest, while Plant A is still struggling to produce a few sad, small fruits. The plant that was started a whole month later actually produces tomatoes sooner and in much larger quantities. Nature always favors vibrant health and momentum over mere age. So, how do we fix this major problem and guarantee an absolute mountain of fresh tomatoes? We use the perfect timing formula. The great secret is simple discipline and a calendar. You must completely ignore the warm, sunny days of February that try to trick you into planting early. Instead, you need to find out the exact average last spring frost date for your specific local area. You can find this easily online by searching for your zip code. Once you have that specific date, you grab a calendar and count backward exactly 6 to 8 weeks. Not 10 weeks, not 12 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks is the absolute golden window. That specific date is the only time you should open your seed packets. If your last frost is on May 15th, you do not plant a single tomato seed until the very end of March or the first week of April. This perfectly calculated window ensures your seedlings will grow fast, strong, and incredibly thick. They will reach the perfect transplant size of about 6 to 8 inches tall exactly when the outdoor soil is warm and ready to welcome them. This simple shift in timing transforms gardening from a frustrating, stressful chore into a joyful, effortless experience that easily rewards you with the biggest, heaviest tomato harvest you have ever seen in your entire life. And there you have the undeniable truth. Waiting patiently is your ultimate superpower for a massive harvest. We have seen how a lack of light makes early seedlings weak, how small pots destroy their roots, and how the brutal transplant shock can stop them dead in their tracks. We completely shattered the illusion that early flowers and tall, spindly stems equal success. The most surprising twist of all is that the seed you hold back and plant a whole month later will actually outgrow, outlast, and outproduce the one you rushed to plant in winter. It is all about giving the plant the perfect momentum. So, hide those seeds until the golden window opens exactly 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost. Thank you so much for watching and learning with us today. If this video saved your tomatoes from an early disaster, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and share this video with your gardening friends. Now, I have a very important question for you to answer in the comments below. What is the absolute biggest mistake you have ever made in your spring garden? Let us share our stories and learn together.